Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Muslim Sex Podcast. I have some exciting news. I want to let all of you know that I am opening up my office, my private office, where I can see you here in New York, and it will be opening at the end of this month. So this month is now June. So at the end of this month, my office will be up and running, and I would love for you to come in and see me as a patient. So go to V Health, so that is FEMMEVIEHEALTH.com, and sign up to be a member of my concierge gynecology practice. And you can also come to see me for regular visits, or if you have a problem visit, come and see me. I, of course, focus on menopause and sexual health. So if you're having any of those issues, I'd love to see you. And make sure you come in and say hi. I'd love to meet you in person. So also, the retreat is still going on. It'll be happening September 16th through the 23rd, and we only have a few spots left. So if you were thinking about coming to the retreat where we focus on nutrition and sexual health and menopausal health, you need to register today because spots are filling up. And once it's sold out, it will be sold out and we will not be taking any more participants. So make sure you go and register for that as well. Also, as always, please remember to like and share this podcast. Leave me a 5-star review so that it shows up and so that we can get the word out about menopausal and sexual health, as well as intimacy and intimacy coaching. So if you love this podcast, please make sure to leave me a 5-star review. And now on to the episode. I am an American board certified OBGYN, a mom, a Muslim, and I'm talking about sex. This is the Muslim Sex Podcast. Welcome to the Muslim Sex Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sadaf, and this episode is everything you need to know about body image, our thoughts, and how that impacts our relationships. Before I get into it, I want to make a few things clear. As always, is that this is not meant to be any type of medical advice. So if you are having any issues with body image or say anorexia or bulimia or any of those things, please seek medical help. And this is not meant to be any type of religious advice. So if you have any questions about your religion, please speak with your friendly neighborhood religious leader. This is the Muslim Sex Podcast because I'm a Muslim woman that talks about sex. So let's get into it. So today I am going to talk a little bit about body image and how that affects relationships and what we can do about that, right? So let's just go through a few definitions first. So body image refers to, basically the way that we think about our own body, right? And the thoughts and feelings that surround that about our appearance. It's influenced by so many things, and definitely social media does not help at all because, we'll get into why social media doesn't help, but so it's affected by so many different things and, different societal standards of beauty, cultural norms, media representations, personal experiences, relationships. So I can tell you that, so I recently, so I'm Pakistani and I went to Pakistan most recently this past year. And, for some reason, and, I don't think it's just Pakistanis. I think it's really society as a whole, to be honest. We really emphasize skin color a lot, and, it tends to be that our beauty standards are that the more fair, the more white somebody is, the more beautiful they are. And perhaps darker, isn't always seen as beautiful, unfortunately, which of course it is. We all know that. But I can tell you that, being Pakistani as I am, there's such an emphasis on color, really just, and I think it's unfortunate. And I think for my friends and family that are out in Pakistan, I wish we could change that. I think that, color, with the color of somebody's skin, right, obviously doesn't say anything about their beauty, doesn't say anything about their kindness, about who they are as a person and what they bring to the table. But I mean, there are billboards throughout Pakistan, and you see them. You see also commercials on TV about like skin whiteners and bleaches that you can bleach your skin to try to make it a little bit more fair, and it's always seen as fair. Being more white is more beautiful. And I think that that is really something that I would love to change in our society as a whole. But, also in developing countries, I think that that is a big problem that we have. And I think a lot of it stems from colonialism that a lot of the developing countries had faced and experienced, right? And we know that colonization also affects our DNA. And that's something that I wasn't really thinking about talking about, but something that came to me right now as I'm talking is that we know that colonialism, or things that perhaps our ancestors experienced, let's say that they experienced starvation, which happened a lot in India and Pakistan, that how did that change our DNA so that it made us more susceptible to diabetes? It made us more susceptible to heart disease, right? So how does experiencing past traumas in our ancestors, how does that now affect us in today's times, right? Like, so we know that Pakistanis and are more susceptible to heart disease. We know they're more susceptible to diabetes. So, really interesting how past traumas come in and, affect us even now, even if we may not be experiencing that, right? But how it really changes the DNA and actually gets passed down through generations. And I think that's called epigenetics. But I digressed a little bit. So let's go back into what body image and how that affects us, right? So really, it's about, body image is really how we see ourselves. And even if, I think that happens a lot with people that, and this episode is not about weight loss or weight gain or anything like that, but I think that that happens also for individuals that perhaps were overweight, right? And then they lose weight, but they still see themselves as being overweight. And I think that that does a lot to a person's psyche. And it's really hard to move past that. So I think that those are just some things that we need to think about. But so, I think what happens is that when we're in relationships, right? And it's specifically for women, but I think also for men, is that how we see ourselves is kind of the energy that we project out. And the type of energy we project, I think, are the people that end up finding us, right? So if we are always feeling low about ourselves or not feeling good about ourselves, I think that that's the energy that we emit. And those might be the people that then, come and find us. And then maybe they take advantage of us because we don't feel good about ourselves, right? So maybe there's some manipulation there, maybe there's some coercion there. Not always, but I think that that definitely can lead to that, right? So, what I will always tell my children is that, it's really important how we see ourselves. And we'll go into, talking about body neutrality and having a good, positive self image, but definitely how we see ourselves, really influences how we act and then the actions. So, I've had some coaching clients, and one of them that I can think about in particular was actually an individual. He's actually male, and the reason why I say that is because usually I deal a lot with females because I'm a gynecologist. But so he's male, and he was telling me that he had a hard time talking when he was saying like in front of others, or when he was in a social situation. He had a hard time going and meeting others, or in a classroom, or any of those things. Basically, anytime he had to speak, he, had a hard time and just felt really unsure of himself. And then I asked him how he felt about himself and how he saw himself. And, he would told me a little bit that he felt unsure, he wasn't confident. He saw himself as, somebody that wasn't very smart and this and that. So, all of those thoughts, right, are going to absolutely impact how you see yourself and then how you act when you are with others. And what I would challenge you to do is when we have those negative thoughts about ourselves, is to change those thoughts over to positive thoughts, right? And it's really hard to do, but it starts with positive affirmations, right? So every day in front of a mirror, what I want you to do, if you're listening to this, if you're interested in this, is to start with positive affirmations that you say to yourself in front of a mirror, right? So you could say something like, I am smart. I am a great speaker. I am, whatever is it. They have to be I am statements, right? So something that's present and something that you want to be. I am confident. And whether or not you're actually at that point doesn't really matter. But what matters is that you say it consistently every single day so that you're basically reprogramming your brain, okay, into believing what you're saying you want to be so that eventually you get there. Okay. So, for example, if I am always having negative thoughts about myself, right, then the feeling that I'm going to have is perhaps just not being confident and, apologizing all the time or something like that. And then the action that I take is I'm just never going to take a risk because I'm going to think that it's going to fail. Right. So, what I'd want you to do is to change those thoughts because we're always trying to, as physicians, we always try to get to the root cause. As a coach, I want you to get to the root cause. So, I want to know, are you able to change that thought? So, change that thought from like, I'm not confident to I am confident. Okay. Then the feeling that's going to come about is you're going to perhaps feel better about yourself. Are you going to feel happy? Or are you going to, feel not as stressed, maybe, right? And then the action you're going to take is perhaps you will approach that person that you've been, unsure about approaching, but you just approach them. Or maybe you're going to speak out more in class, or maybe you're going to take a risk that maybe you weren't going to take before, right? So it's really important to understand how our thoughts affect our feelings, which affect the actions that we take, right? In the same vein, I want you to know that your body image is directly related to your thoughts, right? So that's where I'm really getting to, is that our thoughts affect our body image. And, if we're telling ourselves bad things all the time, like, oh, I'm fat, I'm ugly, blah, blah, whatever, then how we show up is going to be reflected by those thoughts, right? How we feel, and then how we act. So maybe we're not going to initiate intimacy with our partner because we're feeling like we're fat, or we're not good enough, or we're not, whatever, all of those negative thoughts that, we tend to have. So I really want you to work on your thoughts, right? So this whole podcast is going to be just talking about how we see ourselves, the body image, and how can we promote a better body image or thoughts. Really, it's about thoughts. It's about thoughts about ourselves and then how we present. So, okay, so body neutrality, right, is a concept that encourages individuals to just see their bodies as neutral rather than positive or negative. And it's shifting that focus away from appearance and toward functionality, your abilities, and your overall well being, right? Body neutrality also encourages people to just appreciate and accept our bodies, right? And that's kind of what we talked about a little bit. We talked about sexual intelligence. It's just accepting where we are right now in our lives and knowing that sex is going to change. Well, here, what we're talking about is just really accepting and appreciating our bodies, right? Regardless of the shape, the size, the appearance, or the ability. And, I think what really helps is knowing that we, just looking at ourselves and just showing gratitude to our body to just for showing up, right? I know that in one of these exercise apps that I use, whatever, they say, to thank your body for showing up. And I think that that's so important, right? Is to just thank yourself for being the person that you are here today and just accepting them and really just appreciating your body for being able to do the things that it does. And really just challenging these beauty standards and these cultural narratives that we equate with worth and physical appearance, right? So whether it's, you're somewhere where they really emphasize the color of your skin or, your abilities and things like that. I think that really helps you to just really focus on the things that you're able to do, what your body's able to do, and just appreciate that. And really just focusing on your health and wellness rather than striving for a specific body ideal, which can sometimes really be debilitating for people, right? That's how a lot of times, our body image really affects how we feel about ourselves, right? And can sometimes lead to really unhealthy relationship with food. And I think that that is a big, big issue that we don't deal with. And, with all of these medications that we have for obesity, and I understand that obesity is a chronic disease, and I do understand that. But I think it's just giving yourself grace, right? And just being kind to yourself and understanding that perhaps you're on a journey and that journey is only yours. And, isn't that journey so much better when you are walking around feeling good about yourself as opposed to, you know, feeling that you're not worthy, that, you don't like the way you look, whatever. It's so much better and healthier to be happy with who you are than to walk around with all these negative thoughts. We know that the impact of social media, right, and on body image, constantly comparing yourself to others really leads to a feeling of inadequacy, exposure to all of these like, filters and edits and all these things, right, gives us a really an unrealistic beauty standard. Sometimes people can be harassed online, right, and which can also damage their self-esteem and the way that they see themselves. Also, the fear of missing out, a constant pressure to be present and to present a perfect online image is really damaging. I think it's really tough, and it can lead to a lot of anxiety and stress for individuals. Really knowing that, your worth is not determined by how many likes or followers or all that stuff that, because those things come and go. And it's just, people are fickle, right? One day they'll like something, another day they'll unfollow you. Like, it really doesn't matter. Who cares, right? It's not about them. It's really about you and how you feel about yourself. Really important to just celebrate your own unique features and not to compare yourself to others. It's also important that if you follow, if you're on social media, that if you follow people of different sizes, I have this woman that I did an Instagram with, and I think she's amazing. I think that, she really highlights the fact that she's not, the supermodel and with the supermodel body type and this and that, but that she's a regular human being, and that she has a lot more curves than other people, and it doesn't matter. And she loves herself, and she's actually, I believe, she is an ambassador for a lot of clothing lines. So, I think it's really important to just see yourself as beautiful, and it really doesn't matter what other people think or how they feel. And, it's really the most important person is really you and how you see yourself. Prioritizing kindness and empathy and personality over physical appearance, I think is really important. I recently had a conversation with an individual, and this other person that they were seeing had really bad acne. And, what this individual said to me was, it doesn't matter that, she has a lot of acne, whatever. It's that we all go through it. And, what I thought was, what an amazing way to look at things, right? It's like some people may have felt like, wow, this person has a lot of acne, and may not have approached them or talked to them or something like that. Whereas this other individual said, who cares? It doesn't matter, right? It's really the person that they are on the inside that matters. And that's what they were looking at, right? They weren't so focused on that physical appearance. What would be interesting is if people really demanded more inclusive and diverse representation in the media and advertising, right? The plus size models, models of all colors. I think that would be amazing. It's really important to also see imperfections as just a part of who we are, right? Like, even if when we think that somebody is perfect, they're not necessarily perfect, and they may not even see themselves as perfect. So I think it's just really about acceptance. It's about kindness. It's about showing yourself grace. I think it's about all of those things, and just loving who you are right now, and trying to support and uplift those that don't traditionally fit in what people consider, the traditional beauty standards, right? That supermodel body shape and face and all this stuff. It doesn't really exist for most people. I think also with, body image, of course, there's a lot of, mental health issues that can go with that. It affects our self-esteem and, all that negative self-talk that I talked about a little bit before, that self-doubt, that self-criticism can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety and other mental health concerns, right? Even the most successful, there are people that are lawyers, there are attorneys, right? Super successful. We see them and we're like, wow, they're so successful, but we don't know how they're feeling about themselves. They may be feeling like, that they are not successful, that they're not as attractive, that they're not whatever, right? So it's it's about toning down that negative self-talk that's really not helping us, right? And we can acknowledge that it's there, but like my coach says, it doesn't have to take the driver's seat, right? You can tell that negative self talk that I acknowledge that you're there. I know you're there, but you can just be on the passenger side and you're not going to be on the driver's side because I'm going to be the one that's controlling how I feel about myself and, the way that I show up. Healthy self esteem, of course, is a positive factor that protects against mental health challenges, of course, and helping you to cope better with stress and anxiety. So I think that doing those, really looking at the root cause of your thoughts and why you feel a certain way, also about doing those positive affirmations every single day, I think is really, really helpful. And of the people that I have coached, the one thing that has made the biggest difference in how they feel about themselves and has them really help them to move forward in their lives has been that positive self talk and those self affirmations. So I think those are really important to do. You know, what are some ways that you can what are some things that you can do to help your self-esteem, right? Well, we talked a little bit about it in some of my other episodes is to practice the mindfulness, the meditation, to really develop a non-judgmental awareness of your thoughts and your emotions, treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and patience, of course, always being gentle with yourself, just as you would a close friend, right? And I think one of the books that I've read before, it's called Positive Intelligence, which is really good, talks about like, seeing yourself as like the 5-year-old that you used to be, right? Would you be so mean? Would you be so unkind to that 5-year-old? Would you tell them that they just weren't working hard enough, that, that they're this horrible person, that they're not attractive? That, no, you wouldn't say that. At least I hope you wouldn't say that to your 5-year-old self. And so treat yourself with that type of kindness, with that type of gentleness that you would your 5-year-old self. I think that's a really important way to think of it. Positive self talk, replace all of that critical inner voices that you have with encouraging and supportive affirmations. Embrace your imperfections. We all have them, right? Everyone has imperfections or things that we think are imperfections, right? Just embrace them, own it. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. The most important person is yourself, but not in a bad way, right? We're not telling you to be vain. I'm just telling you that if you don't take care of yourself, then, how can you take care of others? So really important to take care of yourself. Except that everyone makes mistakes and it's okay not to be perfect. Practice self care, right? Whatever that is for you, whether it's working out, whether it's going outside for a walk, whether it's calling your relatives, calling your parents, whatever that is, practice that. Practice your physical, emotional, mental well being by doing things that help you to relax and things that you enjoy. Set boundaries for others, establish healthy limits that help you to protect yourself and your emotional well-being. There's nothing wrong with setting limits and boundaries with others. Practice self-forgiveness. I think it's one of the things that we forget to do. And I think it is so important to do is when we make a mistake, right? Of course, you want to apologize to the person that perhaps you hurt unintentionally, but also to forgive yourself and forgive yourself for a mistake that maybe you made. Maybe you were supposed to follow up with someone and you didn't. And it wasn't intentional, but it happened. So forgive yourself, right? You hope that others can forgive you. So how about you learn to forgive yourself? And I think that's really, really important as well. Let go of all that self-criticism and forgive yourself for any past mistakes and shortcomings that you may have had. Embrace your humanity. Know that you're human, right? And that you're imperfect. You make mistakes. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes, but you have to learn and you grow from them, right? I talk about my coach actually a lot. I just realized, but she says we have wins or we have lessons, right? There's nothing that we can't learn from. So it's important that we learn from anything and everything that we experience in life. Self-compassion is a journey. It's really, important to know that we learn it as we go. And you have to practice self-compassion so that you can develop a more positive, compassionate relationship with both yourself and improve your self-esteem that way and your overall well-being. Start with small steps and don't hesitate to reach out to help. Reach out for help, right? Reach out to a therapist, reach out to a counselor, reach out to a coach, any one of those people that you feel can help you with your self esteem. I think that oftentimes we have so much baggage that we carry around with us, right? Every single day, that we don't know how to let go of that. So sometimes just talking to a psychologist, talking to a therapist, talking to a social worker, anyone that can help you to unpack those thoughts, those feelings, is going to be super helpful in you moving forward in your relationship and in your life. Consult a therapist, counselor, right? Any of those people that can help you. And if you've experienced trauma, contact somebody that specializes in trauma. And all of these things, right, are just steps in you taking to improve your health, your self esteem, and really your body image and the way that you see yourself. Nutrition and exercise can also help, and I think are so important. We know that there are so many natural endorphins that are released just by exercising. And so if you're able to get out, I think that is really important, to just even get out into nature and take a walk, right? So you're exercising and you're getting out into nature. We know some of the key things for longevity are to be outside, to exercise, do eat a lot of protein, and lift heavy weights. And those are just a few things, but those are some of the most important things. And of course, community, right? You can't do anything without community. I mean, I think that having a network of friends that you can reach out to, that you can lean on, is so important. So if you find people like that will listen to you without judgment, that will, be kind to you just as you are to yourself, then I think those are the people that you hang on to. And well, we are done here, and it's been real and really intimate. And remember, this was, of course, not medical advice, but if you are having issues with body image and you feel that you need to seek help, please do, right? There are people that are ready and willing to help you, whether it be a psychologist, a therapist, a coach, any one of these people can definitely help you. So please reach out and get the help that you need. And until next time, this is the Muslim Sex Podcast. So thank you for listening to the podcast, and make sure you leave us a review, share and like the podcast. And if you leave me a review, I'd love to shout you out on social media. So be sure that you share it with all your friends. And thanks for listening.